And our next story is about the war in Ukraine. Efforts to reach that peace deal have stalled in a way. And now the US is considering Ukraine's request for Tomahawk cruise missiles. A weapon that, if delivered, would basically allow Ukraine to strike as far into Russia as Moscow. President Zelensky saying that this could force Russia to come to the table to end the war. And the US appears to be considering his request. On Sunday itself, US Vice President Vance told Fox News that President Trump would take the final call. And later that day, Trump's special envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, confirmed, saying, I'm quoting, there is no such thing as sanctuaries, quote unquote. Now, this is Russia's so-called red line, remember, and President Putin has long warned the West against provoking Russia with long-range weapons. And Moscow responded on Monday by asking if, should Ukraine receive Tomahawks, the US would also provide targeting data. Tomahawk missiles have a range of around 2,500 kilometers. And if Ukraine does receive them, Moscow would fall within the reach, and a move that Russia is likely to view as a significant escalation. In the past, the US has refused Ukraine's request for long-range striking capabilities, first under President Biden and more recently as discussed under President Trump. In fact, Trump has said he wants to push both sides towards peace and has expressed frustration over what he calls Putin's reluctance to negotiate. But then would he risk crossing Moscow's so-called red lines? Like we said earlier, according to the US Special Envoy to Ukraine, it's a yes in a way. In a separate interview with Fox News, Keith Kellogg said, I'm quoting here, I think reading what Trump said and reading what the Vice President has said, the answer is yes. Use the ability to hit deep. There are no such things as sanctuaries, quote unquote. Russia, meanwhile, raising its own set of questions on Monday. The Kremlin asked, if Ukraine gets Tomahawk missiles, will the US also provide the target data? The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, saying Moscow is analyzing whether such missiles, if supplied, would be fired using American intelligence. And he warned that if the US was involved in targeting, it would make Washington a direct party in the war. But Peskov also tried to downplay the threat, calling Tomahawks no magic weapon that can change the situation on the front lines. Ukraine, however, is pushing hard. Zelensky has even asked the US to sell Tomahawks to European partners, who could then pass them on to Kiev. And on the battlefield, both sides reporting a heavy weekend of fighting. Russia saying its forces launched massive strikes on Ukraine's military facilities using long-range missiles and drones. And it claims to have destroyed hundreds of Ukrainian drones. Ukraine saying its defenses intercepted most of them, shooting down over 600 drones and missiles. The Ukrainian army also reporting 173 combat engagements in just one day. And even as the war rages on, President Zelensky is calling for a new strategy, basically, a joint aerial defense shield built with European partners. And he says if Russia loses the ability to strike from the skies, it will be unable to continue the war.
Ukraine proposes to Poland and all our partners to build a joint, truly reliable shield against Russian aerial threats. And this is possible. Ukraine can counter all types of Russian drones and missiles. And if we act together in the region, we will have enough weapons and production capacity for these. If Russia loses the ability to strike in the skies, it will be unable to continue the war.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.